Let's begin by telling you that the State Executive Committee of the People's Democratic Party has expelled Board of Trustees Chairman of the party, Adolphus Wabara, from the party with immediate effect. Chairman of the party in the state, Amar Abraham, announced his expulsion after a meeting with the state executive at the party's secretariat in Umuahia on Tuesday. The Federal High Court on Monday issued an injunction to Amar Abraham, restraining him from executing further suspensions on Wabara. Now, to shed more light on this, we're joined by Chairman PDP in Abia State, Amar Abraham. Unfortunately, I'm being told that we are not connected yet, so we will be bringing you that conversation after. Do stay tuned. Away from that now, reactions have continued to trail developments in Rivers State on Governor Siminalayi Fubara's talks, as he talks tough, assuring his supporters that victory is inevitable despite the political challenges in the state. Fubara took the stand during the commissioning of the Government House Staff Quarters at the Forces Avenue in Port Harcourt. He noted that it's not just about winning, but about standing for truth and fighting gallantly, adding that the era of deception in the state is over, as the state is now determined to take control of its destiny. Now, this comes as the House of Assembly gave Governor Fubara 48 hours to present the 2025 budget to the lawmakers.
I want to assure you, all our supporters, I know the news that broke out on Friday must have dampened your spirit. Raise up. What is ahead is more than what we just passed. So, as a human being, I know you feel somehow, but just relax. God has our back. Our back is not on anybody, it's God. I want to thank you for your support and assure you that if there is one person on this planet Earth that will continue to stand by you, I will be that person. I assure you that I will lead you with honor. I will lead you with respect. And I will lead you with integrity. Knowing that when I leave here, I will have questions to answer. If I'm called upon 20 years, 30 years from today, I want to be proud.
In the meantime, the Ijaw National Congress has issued a strong warning against any attempt to impeach Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, threatening that it cannot guarantee peace in the Niger Delta region if such actions are pursued. The INC condemned last Friday's Supreme Court ruling, which affirms 27 lawmakers loyal to Minister Nyesom Wike as the legitimate members of the House of Assembly, describing the decision as potentially destabilizing for the region. INC President Professor Benjamin Okaba criticized the ruling for overlooking the Ijaw people's historical and political contributions to the state's leadership. He stressed that undermining Governor Fubara's position could have severe consequences for both national peace and the region's economic stability. Now, meanwhile, the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission has announced a stakeholders meeting to unveil a timetable and guidelines for the 2025 local government elections in Rivers State. The meeting will be held on Wednesday at the Commission's headquarters in Port Harcourt. The statement signed by the Chairman, Electoral Commissioner Justice Adolphus Enebini, invited registers, political parties, traditional rulers, security agents, and also religious organizations, media representatives, professional organizations, civil society groups, NGOs, community-based groups, and the electorate. Official presentation of timetable and guidelines for a fresh local government election across Rivers State are expected at the meeting. Now, to discuss this, we are joined by Public Affairs Analyst Francis Chilaka. Mr. Chilaka, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Sir, What are the potential political implications of lawmakers giving Fubara just 48 hours to present the 2025 budget? I believe that's 24 hours now.
Well, I think the lawmakers they've been overzealous. They're not looking at the mood of the state. They're not looking at how the people have taken the judgment of the Supreme Court. And they're not applying emotional intelligence in dealing with the situation on ground. So I think that, I believe that they should do better than that. They shouldn't form a situation where they become confrontational with the governor as well as the people, because it will not go well for the state. They should be more calmer, they should be more friendly, and they should look at things in a way that they do not upset the current political structure in the state.
So could the lawmakers' decision to impose this strict deadline be seen as a political maneuver aimed at perhaps maybe asserting legislative control over the governor's fiscal policies?
Well, yes, and at the same time, they're trying to use that as an opportunity to find reasons to begin to call for the impeachment of the governor. So there are certain traps. These are all Google traps that they are setting, and they're doing it recklessly. That's the truth. They're doing it recklessly, and they're not thinking straight. If they're thinking straight, the first thing they should do is to find a way to have peace in the state. And giving him 48 hours is, for me, it's not going to work. And I know that Fubara will not agree to that. But I think that they should stop putting landmines in Rivers State, because if Rivers State goes up in flames, they will not be recognized as honorable members anymore.
So if any of these landmines, like you say, should go off, as if the budget is delayed or not approved, what could be the potential consequences for the state's development projects and also the public services as well?
Let us, the question we should be asking is, in all this brouhaha going on in Rivers State, how is it adding value to the lives of the Rivers State people? This Amahelu's group, 26 members, who have since inception created problem, made it ungovernable for the governor to work. Are they not thinking of the people? So for me, it's all about selfishness, it's all about greed, it's all about the political class, and not about the people. So even if it doesn't present the budget as they have requested, it is the people that will suffer it. So I think that rather than coming out with coming to a stick fight with AK-47, they should apply wisdom. Right now, what we need in Rivers State is wisdom to prevail, and not grandstanding. Because grandstanding will not help anybody. It will not help the governor, it will not help the honorable members, neither will it help the teeming citizens of Rivers State.
Interestingly, Governor Fubara is he's already seeming to be mobilizing or influencing public opinion. So, I mean, he's alerting his supporters about the budget standoff. So how might this affect, politically the system or the people's opinion?
Well, if you've been to Rivers State all this while, and if you follow the trajectory of what's playing out in Rivers, you know that the governor himself has been able to endear the people to himself. He has been able to carry the people along. He has been able to get the people to support his policies. So what he's doing right now is cementing that relationship between him and the people. And that's why I'm saying that these honorable members should tread carefully. Because right now, they're having a situation where you have a governor who has the support of his people and his constituency. So whatever you're going to do, you must be very careful so as not to light up the state.
It sounds like a build-up to something. If the governor has the people's support, the constituent support, and the 27 members have, we don't know what kind of support, what is the end result of these, if it should end up on a standoff?
Well, if it results in a standoff, we'll probably have a situation where
a state of emergency will be declared in Rivers State. That is what I foresee, because I do not see Fubara just accepting everything these people are going to be asking for. Because if they're giving him 48 hours, if he concedes to that 48 hours, they'll throw more spanner in the wind. And so it is best for both parties to know right now that whatever happens in Rivers, it will not be to the benefit of those political gladiators. Neither will it be to the benefit of the people. But what I see playing out is a situation where we might likely have a standoff that will lead to the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State.
So it seems like the countdown has begun. I want to thank you very much, sir, for joining us this afternoon on the news with your very expert opinion. Thank you, sir. Moving on now, Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State says he will disclose his preferred successor in January 2026. Makinde spoke during the 11th Omituntun Ramadan lecture, which took place at the Government House Arcade in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The lecture titled Benefits of Being a Good Neighbor, an Islamic Perspective, was delivered by Yunus Olushina Taliat, Grand Chief Imam of Ogbomoland. Religious and political leaders, including Rashidi Ladoja, a former governor of the state, attended the event. In a short address, Makinde said the lecture provided him the opportunity to appreciate Muslim leaders in the state for their support for his administration. Now we're going on a short break, and when we get back, Nigeria's electricity power generation capacity hits new peak of 5,713 megawatts. Details of this and more after the break. Stay with us. And now we go back to a previous story from earlier where we talked about the State Executive Committee of the People's Democratic Party as it expelled Board of Trustees Chairman of the party. And joining us here is Mr. Amma Abraham. Mr. Amma, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. He's the Chairman PDP in Abia State.
Okay.
I'd like to confirm if you can hear us, sir.
Yes, I
Fantastic.
can. It's
welcome.
my pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much, sir. Welcome. Now, so what were the specific reasons behind the expulsion of Senator Adolphus Wabara from the party?
Well, about 16, 20 days, 2 weeks ago plus, he was suspended for reason bordering on anti-party. And in line with the constitution of our party, following that suspension, a disciplinary committee was set up, a 7-man committee was set up to look at what we have done and to find out if we did that in line with the constitution of the People's Democratic Party 2017 as amended. The committee spent 2 weeks to carry out this exercise. And during this time, they extended some invitations to the suspended BOT chairman, Senator Adolphus Wabara. And those invitations were sent across to his local residents here in Abia State. And the committee even went further to put up an advertorial on Vanguard newspaper, where they also extended that invitation to make sure that there would be no reason for him to deny being served as appropriate. And in all this, he did not respond to the committee. And then the State Working Committee was able to present evidence, the basis for that suspension, including visual evidence where the suspended BOT chairman was seen to have endorsed an opposition party for 2027 governorship election. That action is condemnable. That action is not acceptable. And such an action is not only unbecoming of such a highly exalted personality of our party, but it's not something we can condone. And of course, like every responsible organization, we have our discipline. and the law is a respecter of nobody. If Senator Adolf Mwabara, the suspended BOT chairman, cannot be suspended for violating the Constitution, it simply means that a clearance has been provided by the party for any party man or party woman to work against the party.
Right,
the business of political parties in a country like Nigeria, where the Constitution does not allow for independent candidates, is to provide a vehicle through which aspiring politicians can present themselves for election. And in a situation where we have a political party where leaders have already given out such positions to other political parties, it means that the political party has no basis to exist. And unfortunately, for the PDP in Abia and the PDP in Nigeria, we have 1,001 reasons to continue to exist and to continue to provide our platform for responsible citizens to use for the purposes of being elected into public office.
Well, sir, I want to say thank you for that clear response, sir. But can we clarify if the expulsion followed the party's constitutional due process? That's including consultations with relevant stakeholders and also approval from the necessary organs.
Well, when you talk about approval from necessary organs, when you talk about the party at the state level, the organs today, the presentation was made by an enlarged Etsako. We have members of the SWC, other members of the Etsako. We had 17 local governments chairmen seated, and the activity was, the event was covered by the media. So when you talk about stakeholders, we don't go to the street asking people whether, you see, you don't need approval from any quarters to do what is right. You don't need approval from any quarter to do what is right. What we have done is in line with the constitution of our own party. The constitution grants us the power to discipline any member of the party who violates the constitution of the party. And of course, that is exactly what we have done. There is no violation of the constitution. We have done what is right. And the man out there is not saying that I did not say those things. And the people are trying to bring sentiments. Sentiments will not work at this time, and it should never work.
Mr. Abraham, I want to say thank you very much for giving us your clear, concise answers to our questions this afternoon on the news. Thank you very much, sir.
It's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much for the privilege.
Moving on now, Nigeria's electricity power generation capacity reaches a new peak of 5,713 megawatts, according to the Transmission Company of Nigeria. Now, this marks the highest power output since 2021, surpassing the previous peak of 5,542.2 megawatts, recorded in February of 2025. TCN confirmed that the full 5,713 megawatts was successfully transmitted across the country. While the new peak falls short of the all-time high of 5,801.6 megawatts reached in March 2021, it remains a significant milestone. Additionally, Nigeria set a new record for maximum daily energy, reaching 125,542.06 megawatts hour, exceeding the previous record of 125,159.48 megawatts hour set just last month. And now to security matters. Gunmen have kidnapped Philip Ekeli, a Catholic priest, and Peter Andrew, a seminarian from St. Peter Catholic Church in Etsako East local government near Edo State. Now, the attack occurred around 11:30 p.m. on Sunday, but was confirmed by police sources on Tuesday. Security operatives, including members of the Rapid Response Squad, were mobilized to the scene, where they confirmed the abduction of the priest and the seminarian. The attackers reportedly whisked them into the nearby bush. The report added that local vigilantes engaged the gunmen, killing one of the assailants during the attack. His body was deposited at the General Hospital mortuary in Agenebode. Items recovered from the scene include a button phone, cash, and other items. Still on security, the Kwara State Police Command has successfully rescued an abducted victim Sule Saidu, who was kidnapped from the Ahuro Fulani camp in Ifelodun local government area on Friday night. According to the police public relations officer Adetong Ajiri Adeyemi, a swift operation led to Saidu's rescue and the arrest of 2 key suspects on Saturday. Saidu was then taken by 5 armed men at around 11 p.m., but police operatives tracked the gang to the Babanla Okirike area, leading to a gun battle. During the confrontation, 1 abductor was neutralized, while 2 others, 40-year-old Ibrahim Shehu and 25-year-old Mohammed Lawal, were arrested. However, 2 suspects escaped with gunshot wounds. Police have urged the public to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activities. The Nigerian Army Resource Center has tasked media professionals to work with the military in tackling insecurity and developmental challenges in the country. The Director General of the center, Major General Gaba Wahab, made this known to newsmen in Abuja during an engagement with defense correspondents, saying that the media can contribute immensely to ridding the nation of insecurity challenges and restoring peace back to troubled communities.
And it says in a modern society like Nigeria, security is development. Development is security. Without security, you can't be developed. And without development, you can't be secure. The two goes together. So we are pursuing security for us to be developed. If you are not secured, there can't be security, because the money, the funding, the budget meant for other areas will always go to security. And those who are not even involved will always add under security to do some things. And so we must all work as a team to ensure that the system moves on.
272 pilgrims from Delta State have departed for Israel and Jordan for Christian pilgrimage. During the visits to the Holy Land, they are expected to explore biblical historical sites, seek spiritual enlightenment, pray for personal growth, and intercede on behalf of Delta State and Nigeria. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu tells us more.
At the pre-departure brief ceremony at Government House in Asaba, Chairman of the Delta State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Apostle Silvanus Okorete, laid out important guidelines for the trip, thanked Governor Borewori for making funds available for Christians to embark on the holy assignment.
Nobody stays in the room during devotion. Everybody must come out and partake in the devotion. You will take that time to pray, not only for you and your family, but also for His Excellency. Not every governor has done this.
Governor Sheriff Oborewori, represented by Secretary to the State Government, Kingsley Emo, charged the pilgrims to be good ambassadors of the state and Nigeria. In the same vein, Commissioner Bureau for Special Duties Etagure Ejiro, who spoke on security and conduct, also cautioned the pilgrims against engaging in illegal activities.
I think it's very important for you to know that you're ambassadors of the state. Ambassadors don't live by terrible examples. They showcase the qualities of where they come from. You are champions. Not everybody has this privilege to go there.
Respect the state. Respect your family. And also respect the nation. Too much damage for Nigeria. Don't be a contributor to damage our nation.
Some of the pilgrims speak on their expectations at the Holy Land.
It's that God will protect our families, sustain our life and our health, grant our heart desires that are in line with God's wish and desires for us.
Expectations are that after the pilgrimage, when we come back, due to the prayers we have made for the state, I want to see a Delta State that is full of peace. Security. I'm going to really be praying for security in Delta State and the progress of the state, and also for our governor, that God should keep leading him aright.
The contingents thereafter proceeded to Port Harcourt International Airport, where they left the shores of the country through a chartered aircraft and landed at Jordan Airport the next day after 7.5 hours on air. The 272 pilgrims are made up of 172 men, 100 women, and are expected to spend 3 days in Jordan before moving to Israel, as they are expected to spend 10 days in the Holy Land. In Jordan for News Central, Austin Azu.
Now, staying in Delta State, where the state government has officially declared several miners wanted for their involvement in unauthorized mining activities, particularly those engaged in stone mining along the Ubolo corridors near Asaba in Oshimili North local government area of the state. The government alerted that such activities pose substantial environmental hazards, jeopardize public safety, and violate existing mining regulations. Charles Anyagu, Delta State Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads and Commissioner for Public Information, disclosed this information during a press briefing in Asaba, the Delta State capital.
Some individuals who have been very busy on account of what they call illegal mining. They have been very busy destroying the Ubolu Heights, an area that we have already earmarked for development as part of the expansion of our urban renewal programs in the Capital Territory. These miners are destroying the landscape of that height, digging so deep and destroying a whole lot of the topography of that environment. As from henceforth, any of such person found engaged in such activities along that Ubolu Heights will be arrested, because they are causing a whole lot of harm to the environment, and they are doing so without the permission of government, even when they do realize that that place has been acquired a long time ago by government for the purpose of advancing the development of the Capital Territory. So that one at the Ubolu Heights, the continuous mining is hereby prohibited.
Abia State government is appealing to the public to identify and report those who vandalized public incinerators. Commissioner for Information in Abia State, OK Kanu, during the briefing of journalists on the resolution of the Executive Council meeting on Monday, says government is adopting new approaches to waste management. Also, the General Manager of the Abia State Environmental Protection Agency, Obonia Okereke, explains that government is poised to recycle wastes generated in the state for better use.
ASEPA is also poised to run a hybrid that will involve central collection in places like markets and in some specific areas in high traffic, both human and vehicular. We need to monitor the activities of scrap dealers who tamper with ASEPA buckets. We have instances of scrap dealers, the legendary Abakara people, going to steal or remove ASEPA buckets.
We see vehicles carrying plastic and all of that out of the state. That facility is going to make sure that those people that collect that, those that are called aggregators, their products, those products we bought from them here in the States. The facility, they will compress that plastic, sell it, give it back to the top manufacturers, and it goes on. That's actually waste to wealth. Already there's a facility doing that, you know why here.
The trial of several prominent Tunisian opposition figures accused of national security offenses opened on Tuesday, with rights groups denouncing the case as politically motivated. The around 40 high-profile defendants include former diplomats, politicians, lawyers, and media figures, some of whom have been vocal critics of President Kais Saied. Those already in detention were not allowed to attend the trial in person and followed it remotely. Their lawyers and rights groups argued this was unjust and demanded their rights to appear before a judge.
اللي موجود اليوم في القضية هو مؤامرة، ولكن مش مؤامرة السياسيين وإنما مؤامرة السلطة ضد المعارضة.
اليوم يجيوا بمناسبة محاكمة جائرة لعدد من الشخصيات المرموقة في تونس المعروفة بسلميتها بالتزامها بالقانون اللي هي عندها معناها أماكن للسكنة معروفة ولها مهن معروفة، يجيوا اليوم يقولوا أن حضورهم في المحكمة يهدد الأمن القومي. هذم يكلموا في رواحهم، ما همش يكلموا لا في المواطنين ولا في النخب ولا في العالم. احنا لن نكون جزء من مسخرة قضائية.
In a recent statement, Hawk's head Godfrey Labea addressed the ongoing investigations into AfriForum and the Solidarity Movement's misinformation campaign in the United States. He announced on Monday that the National Prosecuting Authority, the NPA, will be responsible for determining whether elements of treason exist in the 4 cases that have been opened against these organizations. Labea emphasized that for a treason case to be established, there must be clear actions indicating that the accused intend to violate or threaten to endanger the existence of the country. The implications of such allegations are significant, and the Hawk says they are keen to ensure a thorough examination of the evidence. And now joining us to discuss this is legal expert Mpumelelo Zikalala. I'm hoping I got that right. My apologies if I didn't pronounce that properly, but you're welcome on the news this evening, or rather this afternoon.
Good afternoon to you and also to your viewers. You've got it perfectly correct.
Oh, thank you very much. That's the scorecard I needed. Now let's begin by asking you, the legal elements of the treason charges, what are they?
Yeah. Basically, if you look, that's what we refer to as a common law crime. So there are basically 4 things in which you can be charged for treason for. It says by your conduct, when you have allegiance to our country, which is South Africa, you have acted in a way that seeks to overthrow the current government. Secondly, if you are going to entice the government to act in a violent or non-violent manner with the sole intention of destabilizing the government, if you then, which is the third one, entice or engage in processes that threaten the independence or the security of the republic, and lastly, if you do things which are going to seek to change the constitutional structure of government, then it is on those 4 bases in which you are then regarded as if you have committed the crime of high treason, which is the highest form of any offense that could take place against the state. Hence, the punishment that would be given to someone who is found guilty of doing that is quite severe.
So what does the right of expressing say in the South African Constitution? Now, the reason that I'm asking this is because of AfriForum, they might say they have a right to air their discontent to anyone, even outside the country. What are your thoughts?
Definitely. So that's going to be one of the defenses in which they are going to say. They will say 2 things. One, they will say, we have a Bill of Rights within our Constitution that says we have freedom of association. We've chosen to associate ourselves with AfriForum and Solidarity. And then secondly, we have the freedom of expression. So anything that we want to state can be stated. If you have any offense to it, then take us to court and then we'll retract it if there's any defamation that is there. But the manner in which our jurisprudence has been developed, our courts have stated that politicians and political parties themselves are subject to some criticism. So there's going to be people that are going to say bad things about a political party. There's no malice which is intended. It's simply within the realm of freedom of expression in which you would find it. The same freedom of expression which is extended to the media in terms of things that are going okay and things that are not going okay. So it may be that you would find that must be frowned upon or is immoral, let me call it like that, to go to a foreign country and speak of things which are not of fact. But at the end of the day, if you want to hold those individuals accountable in terms of the law, that's when you're going to have a very difficult task of doing so. Because one of the tests which is going to be made is going to be, but for the act of the AfriForum going to the US and speaking with President Trump, these are the consequences in which you are suffering. Now, that's where they're going to have a difficult task in proving what consequences did you suffer. Did those consequences that have taken place would have not have taken place anyways, for example, the loss of jobs, loss of lives. But the most important one would be, let's look at the stage in which you are alleged you are being prisoners against. Do you have a sitting president? Yes. Is the judiciary working? Yes. Are all government departments working? Yes. Is the legislature working? Yes. Then the question would be, in what way then did you seek to overthrow the government? In what way are you seeking to unseat the government as it is? Or is it just a process of someone saying, I was merely expressing my freedom of speech and expressing my opinion, and I happen to find favor in a foreign country?
And Mpumelelo, how strong is this case against AfriForum, knowing that investigations have started?
Well, it will be difficult to gauge from here, but if we look at the answers and the statements that we've read, you find that the case is quite weak, especially if there are no results or consequences that have taken place after those utterances were made. I think we're about to approach 3 weeks from now, and since the statement was made, and there's been no public violence, for example, there could be no rights groups that have said we are now going to the union buildings to occupy it. Yes, there was a march, but that particular march was quite, for lack of a better word, peaceful. There were no undue things that have taken place. There are no bombings, for example, in any state or government institutions. There's no threats that have taken place. So you could come back and say it is quite calm, even after those particular statements have been made. So if that's the case, then it means that the state is going to have a very difficult task in proving guilt when it comes to high treason.
Mpumelelo Zakala, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon here on the news. Thank you.
Thank you very much for hosting.
You're welcome. Now, African nations are forging new partnerships in the name of economic growth. In a bold move, Zimbabwe is reaching out to its regional and continental neighbors, including Nigeria, to bolster its economic ties and attract foreign investment. The Zimbabwe Embassy, together with the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair partners, have convened at a gathering of forward-thinking business leaders for an exclusive event that marked a new chapter in Zimbabwe's economic narrative, calling on businesses to invest in Zimbabwe. News Central's Bongani Sisiba has more.
It's a bold statement of intent. Zimbabwe opens the door to a new era of economic partnership as business leaders from Zimbabwe gather in Johannesburg, united by a common vision to revive the economy of the country.
We are gathered here for a shared purpose, whose essence is to explore, to develop, to diversify, and deepen the trade and economic relations between Zimbabwe and the countries, the organizations, and entities that you represent. It is our expectation that the event we are having this morning will create the opportunity and enable us to achieve this primary objective.
This declaration is not just rhetoric, it is a significant commitment as the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair serves as a cornerstone of this initiative, exemplifying the dedication to attracting investment and fostering partnership.
We decided to step out and engage and invite colleagues who are here in South Africa to come to exhibit or participate as delegates or as service providers for our Zimbabwe International Trade Fair 65th Blue Sapphire edition, which will be in Bulawayo in April.
As Zimbabwe seeks to establish economic partnerships across the region, Nigeria stands out as a key ally. This gathering highlights the potential for collaboration, leveraging the strength of both nations.
But Nigeria, with its population, is a big market and can produce these material that can go into production, leaving Zimbabwe's intermediary projects finished or completed in Nigeria. These are possibilities, and we need to get around the table, obviously, and have conversations with Nigerian private sector players as to how we can make this happen.
With a wealth of resources and a young dynamic force, Zimbabwe is ready to showcase its potential, and the upcoming ZITF will be a vital platform spotlighting the lucrative trade and investment opportunities available. As Zimbabwe charts its path towards economic revival, the call to action echoes throughout the region for collaborations, and the nation invites businesses across the region to be part of this transformative journey. For Zimbabwe, the possibilities are limitless. The future for a greater economic revival starts now. In Johannesburg, for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
Poland said on Tuesday a U.S. suspension of military aid to Ukraine had led to a very serious situation, stressing Washington had taken the decision without consulting its NATO allies. The shock decision on Monday comes after a public spate in the White House between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukraine counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Paweł Wąski said it had been taken without informing nor consulting the United States allies in the U.S.-led NATO military alliance. Meanwhile, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said a U.S. freeze on military aid to Kyiv was visible at the country's logistics hub, transferring weapons and humanitarian aid to neighboring Ukraine.
Zabrzmi banalne, ale ono ma wielkie znaczenie politycznie. Została ona podjęta bez żadnych informacji, ani konsultacji, ani z sojusznikami NATO, ani z grupą Rammstein zajmującą się wsparciem walczącej Ukrainy.
Nie mamy dzisiaj żadnego powodu, aby sądzić, że są to tylko słowa. Zresztą meldunki, które napływają z granicy, z naszego hubu, wiesiące też potwierdzają zapowiedzi strony amerykańskiej. I to oczywiście stawia Europę, Ukrainę i oczywiście Polskę w...
In the meantime, U.S. President Donald Trump, at a recent White House news conference, expressed confidence that the Ukraine mineral deal is not dead, despite ongoing discussions. His remarks come after unveiling a $100 billion investment deal with Taiwan's chip giant TSMC, aimed at strengthening U.S. chip manufacturing. Trump also addressed ongoing trade talks, including potential tariffs, signaling a focus on reshaping economic relations. As the U.S. investigates complex global negotiations, Trump's statements suggest he remains optimistic about future agreements, particularly in the mineral sector, despite fluctuating international dynamics.
Big percentage of chips with this investment will be made now, a big percentage. Worldwide, we had very little, almost none. We used to have a lot with Intel, but we had very little, and we'll be at close to 40% of the market with this transaction and a couple of others that we're doing. You're probably talking about 20, 25,000 jobs, but it'll get bigger and bigger with time. Knowing this gentleman, it'll get bigger and bigger. There'll be no stopping them. Tariffs, as you know, will start a week earlier than the reciprocal, which is going to be on a couple of weeks earlier. Reciprocal tariffs start on April 2nd. And I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to go April Fool's Day, because that costs a lot of money, but that one day. But so we're going April 2nd. But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs.
Business now. Ground handling firms involved in Nigerian aviation have requested concessionary loans and tariff waivers from Nigeria's federal government. According to Olani Adigun, chairman of the Aviation Ground Handlers Association of Nigeria, added that the industry's low profit margins made doing business hazardous. The operators stated that in order to stay in business, they needed the government's support. The group adds that the federal government waived custom fees for domestic airlines for nearly 10 years, but that handling companies with significant financial investments received different treatments. And that's all this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. The People's Democratic Party in Abia State has expelled Chairman of the Board of Trustees Adolphus Wabara from the party. And Nigeria's electricity power generation capacity has hit a new peak. We also told you that Tunisia's opposition figures have gone on trial on state security charges. Now to remember, you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.